Hello and welcome to Act 2, Scene 3 of Othello. As we continue our journey, don't forget I've got other videos in this series if for some reason you randomly started Act 2, Scene 3. But anyway, it doesn't matter if you have, you can go back and watch the other ones. I've got plenty of other videos you might like as well. So without further ado, let's have a look at where we are. So here we are. Act 2, Scene 3. I hope you appreciated the sound effect. And we will launch. We were on Act 2, Scene 2 before. Now we're on Act 2, Scene 3. So that was a really short scene. Anyway, so we know about the partying. We know about the celebrations for defeating the Turkish fleet. We know about the celebration of Othello and Desdemona's wedding. So it's party time on Cyprus, basically. So we have Othello being his authoritative, trusting, efficient self. Good Michael, look to you to the guard tonight. Let's teach ourselves the honourable stop not to outsport discretion. So because Cassio's on guard, Othello say, don't be drinking, getting drunk, because you've got to be on watch, because they can't all be drinking because they're soldiers and what if they were attacked and they were caught off guard? They need to have someone on guard, don't they? They're soldiers. That's what it is. Iago hath direction what to do, but notwithstanding, with my personal eye, I will look to it. This sets clues up here for the audience. Iago hath direction what to do. Yeah, that's not going to work out well. Likewise, Iago is most honest. Dramatic irony. Again, the audience know that he isn't. Michael, good night. Notice as well that in terms of the vocatives being used, vocatives being terms of address, and vocatives, which has now magically appeared, they have to be used to the person. Otherwise, you just describe them as terms of address, or there's other words you might use, depending on what the type of word is. But if you're addressing someone, in this case, he's using an whoa, what was I doing there? He's using an informal vocative. I've just moved on my notes. It's gone back. It's okay. Yeah, that was weird. Anyway, he's using an informal vocative. He's using his first name. So again, it suggests a close working relationship as well, doesn't it? Talk with your earliest. Let me have speech with you. So there's a bit of business there. Oh, that one's in slightly wonky. We'll manage. Come on, dear. The purchase made. The fruits are to ensue. The profits yet to come between me and you. Good night. This is sexual. I'm going to see if I can move this back. Can I just move everything back to where? Oh no, what's going on? There we go. We've fixed it. I would say it'll come out in the edit, but I'm not going to edit that. You can just see the magic of the English Terms channel. Anyway, so we've got really, this is sexual innuendo. So the purchase made, the fruits are yet to ensue. So there's been a lot of objectification of Desdemona sexually as well. So the idea of he's now made a purchase and this is the profit, effectively. This is the fruit. That profit's yet to come between me and you. Yeah, you can tell what he's talking about there. So off they go. Then Iago comes in. Welcome, Iago. You must to the watch. Not this hour, Lieutenant. 'Tis not yet 10 of the clock. Our general casts us thus early for the love of his Desdemona, who let us not therefore blame. He hath not yet made wanton the night with her, and she is sport for Jove. A couple of things going on. One is Iago is. We've seen before how he is very much like a devil figure, isn't he? And here he's in this scene. We see him. It's many things. One of those things is a tempter. So you associate the devil with temptation of leading people to evil, leading people to doing bad things. And that's what happens here with Cassio. So you have Lieutenant say, oh, no, it's not time yet. Othello said it's party time. He hasn't yet actually made wanton. He hasn't had sex with her yet. Notice we've said before, Iago's language is very crude. He's sex obsessed. There was also, people tend to think, in the past, it's because of the Victorians actually, people tend to think of the past as being very prudish about sex, but actually this is way before Victorians obviously go through that, and actually this era they weren't actually that prudish about sex in some attitudes, yes, but in terms of things like marriage, it was very common, in fact it was considered normal, that when you were having the party after the wedding guests would go upstairs and listen to the happy couple, their first union would be listened to outside the door, and they'd be cheered on. That was standard, and that even happened for royalty. That was part of weddings in that era. So this is what Iago's kind of alluding to here. Like everyone knows they're going off to have sex. I mean, because of in the modern era, that's not something anyone would be kind of taboo to be talking about that at a wedding, or unless you were very crude like Iago. But in Shakespeare's time, actually, it was pretty normal. But Iago is even more crude probably than average, I would see, in the way that Shakespeare presents him as well. Notice as well she is sport for Jove, because that's Jupiter. And if you know anything about classics, then you'll know that Jove is Jupiter, used deception to rape a human woman, and I think he used fog to create deception. And so that's actually that's what Iago's doing, isn't it? Effectively, like creating a fog, creating deceit, and he's alluding to Othello with Desdemona having sex. I mean, it's not an exact parallel, but you can see the connections that Shakespeare is hitting particular notes there. That a lot of the audience anyway, would be more familiar with those ancient myths, because that was really kind of connected to popular culture. It's a bit like how like Marvel heroes and things are part of our modern pantheon, really, as in they're like our modern gods and myths, aren't they? Those kind of superheroes. In Shakespeare's time, the ancient gods of ancient Rome and ancient Greece, these were like their Marvel superhero stories, effectively, that a lot of people knew and familiar with. So Shakespeare's hitting particular notes to do that. Cassio, though, we've talked about Cassio's language before. He's much more civilized, more refined, more courtly. She's a most exquisite lady, so he's much more of a gentleman. And make note of that word exquisite as well, because that will come back later on. And again, look at the contrast Shakespeare has here. And I'll warrant her full of game. So Iago's language is more, I was going to say fruity. It's more sexual. There's more innuendo. It's cruder. Indeed, she's a most fresh and delicate creature. Look at the contrast. What an eye she has. Methinks it sounds a parley to provocations. He's saying, she looks like she really wants it, is effectively what he's saying. But Cassio's talk is so much more gentlemanly and respectful. Now, of course, you can look at this as what Shakespeare's doing. He's having Iago, again, as a devil figure. Now he's tempting. He's not only tempting Cassio with entertainment and alcohol and partying, he's also now tempting Cassio with the idea of Desdemona having sex. So he's trying to say, effectively, like, imagine yourself in that position. That's what he's trying to do. So he's trying to plant ideas. He's a master manipulator. And when she speaks, it is not an alarum to love. She is indeed perfection. And the alarum is like an alarm, like a rallying call to love. And love, Iago's use of the word love, is really a euphemism for sex in Iago's world. She's indeed perfection. Well, happiness to their sheets. Which is actually a form of personification, thinking about it, because sheets aren't able to be happy or sad. If your sheets are able to be happy or sad, then maybe you could go on tour with your performing sheets or something and entertain people. But anyway, happiness to their sheets is definitely got personification there. Come, Lieutenant, I have a stoup of wine, and here without her a brace of Cyprus gallants that would fain have a measure to the health of Black Othello. So you say, come on, let's party, let's have a drink. Now, Cassio does show good judgment, but of course he's being tempted. Not tonight, good Iago. I have very poor and unhappy brains for drinking. I could well wish courtesy would invent some other custom of entertainment. Cassio, we've said before, haven't we? He's a refined gentleman. He's courtly. He doesn't like to hang around in the pubs, boozing with the common soldier like Iago does. He's just not like that. So Cassio is he's trying to resist and say, no, it's not for me, I don't like drinking. And he's not really meant to be drinking a lot anyway, because he's on guard and he shouldn't have his reactions lowered. It's important that he's alert. Always keep alert. Alerts are fun. Sorry. Oh, they are our friends, but one cup I'll drink for you. So it goes again, it's really about kind of temptation here. I have drunk but one cup tonight, and that was craftily qualified too, and behold what innovation it makes here. I am unfortunate in the infirmity and dare not task my weakness with any more. Cassio is effectively what may be described colloquially as a lightweight, as in he can't hold his alcohol, he gets drunk easily. And it's another way that Cassio is more refined as well, actually. So it's not just he doesn't like drinking, it turns out that he gets drunk easily. So there's ideas here in this scene about masculinity, actually, and masculinity associated with alcohol and also to do with sex. So there's various themes here, and Iago is trying to at first get Cassio to party, then get him to think about sex with Desdemona, then get him to drink again. So you can see what's going on here in this scene. You can see that there's ideas about these aspects of masculinity. So Shakespeare is presenting us with those, and Iago is exploiting these actually as well. What man does a night of revels the gallants desire it? Where are they? Here at the door, I pray them, call them in. I'll do it, but it dislikes me. So he's been persuaded. Because Cassio leaves, this lets Iago have a miniature soliloquy here. If I can fasten but one cup up, this is like his moustache twiddling, villainous, talking to the audience. If I can fasten but one cup upon him, with that he hath drunk tonight already, he'll be as full of quarrel and offence as my young mistress's dog. So there's a simile there, and it's another animal-related simile. Lots of bestial imagery in the play. Now my sick fool Rodrigo, whom I've turned almost the wrong side out to Desdemona, hath tonight caroused, cetaceans pottle deep, and he's to watch. So you have Rodrigo's been drinking as well, actually, and he's around. So that also Cyprus, noble swelling spirits that hold their honours in a wary distance, the very elements of this warlike isle have I tonight flustered with flowing cups, and they watch too. So Iago's been going around getting everyone drinking, getting everyone effectively boozed up, everyone sozzled, everyone, let's say a more formal word for essays, inebriated. That's a much better word. And then now amongst this flock of drunkards, so look, more animal imagery there because of the word flock. And I to put our Cassio in some action that may offend the isle, but here they come. If consequence do but approve my dream, my boat sails freely both with wind and stream. So there's a nautical metaphor there in that heroic couplet, but effectively he wants his plans to flow well, effectively. So his ideas is everything's gonna fall into place. So we have some more characters return. Then he's drinking. Good faith, a little one, not past the pint as I am a soldier. Some wine, ho. So everyone is drinking. You've got Iago doing here like soldiers drinking songs. So that's a type of drinking goblet. Let the cannikin clink, clink, clink. So drinking goblets. So these are all like rough soldier songs. Some wine, boys. So you remember I said about there's a lot about masculinity in this scene. So there's this drinking culture coming through here. Cassio doesn't really fit in with it all, but he's starting to now effectively kind of synchronise with Iago's plans, really, because Cassio is starting to drink. And notice here, for God, an excellent song. Then there's a bit of dramatic irony for the audience here. I learned it in England, where indeed they are most potent in potting. Your Dane, your German, and your swag-bellied Hollander, drink ho, are nothing to your English. Now this actually is slightly more interesting than you might think, because on the one hand, it's like a very simple little nod to the contemporary audience of saying, oh yeah, you're all big boozers, aren't you? Yeah, you're all big, you English are big boozers. So it's a little nod to the audience who, let's face it, a lot of them there in Shakespeare's time probably were drunk. Let's be honest. They probably were. So it's a little bit of an ironic little joke that plays to the audience. But there's something else more subtle going on, I think Shakespeare's doing as well. if this scene, or say if the scene, in this scene, we've looked at ideas about masculinity and different aspects of masculinity. There's sex in here, obviously, but there's also about consumption of alcohol as an aspect of masculinity. Men can obviously be very competitive. One of those things is about drinking. So I think what Shakespeare's doing here is actually, in what's disguised as a little humorous nod to the audience, I think, and again, this is my opinion, you don't have to agree with me, but I think he's actually making a comment about the audience's own set, who, again, there'll be lots of men, there would be a mixed gender audience, it's not all going to be men, but the men in the audience whose attitudes to drinking and competition and the idea of we can drink better than Danish people, Germans and Dutch people, he's actually acknowledging that competitive masculine attitude to drinking in the audience as well. So sometimes in this play we've seen things when Shakespeare crosses that barrier, he crosses over that barrier between the theatrical fiction and the reality of the audience, like in Act 1, Scene 2, when you have Othello talking about a prompter, language of the theatre, and little nods like that. So I think this bit, it looks just like a little joke, but actually subtly reinforces the themes of this scene. And also, because if you think Iago, being a devil character, is manipulating the weakness of Cassio, Shakespeare is actually also acknowledging that if you're a member of the audience there, and particularly obviously if you're a man, and if you're laughing at that joke thinking, yeah, we can outdrink him, yeah, well, isn't Shakespeare also highlighting those audience members' own weakness as well in attitude to alcohol? Don't you think? I think it's more than meets the eye there. I think it's a clever crossing of that boundary again to the audience. Anyway, but it's, you don't have to agree with me. It's just my idea. Anyway, I haven't copyrighted it. I'm sure somebody else has thought of it before. But anyway, I'm just saying it. I'm just a humble YouTube channel. Anyway, so he's your Englishman so exquisite in his drinking. Why he drinks you with facility, your Dane dead drunk. He sweats not to overthrow your Almain. That's another word for German. He gives your Hollander a vomit ere the next pottle can be filled. But you see that again, isn't it? It's playing to masculine ideas about competition over alcohol consumption. Oh, he can't hold his drink, Cassio. But Shakespeare is highlighting how the devil can exploit you, how evil can get into you. Your own arrogance can be your own undoing. If you subscribe to the idea here, like Cassio has been tricked into drinking, this is going to bring about his downfall. So clever stuff. I think it's clever stuff. So there's another boozy song here, but it references King Stephen. He's one of the less famous kings, unless you're well versed in the amazing, horrible histories. Kings and Queens of England song, if you were that, or if you've studied history, of course. I did actually study about King Stephen, but anyway, that's another story. But anyway, the idea here is Cassio doesn't like to sing a disrespectful. Well, first of all, he thinks it's a good drinking song, but then he thinks, oh no, I don't want to upset the natural order and make jokes about a king who's dead. That seems completely wrong. Well, God's above all, and there must be souls be saved, and there be souls must not be saved. This is ironic as well because he's talking about, so I don't want to speak ill of the dead. I don't want to speak ill of a dead king, and I know that some souls are going to be saved and some souls aren't going to be saved, and I want to be one of the the souls that are saved. That's actually really hard to say. You try it. You try saying it. If you think I'm mucking that up, I'm not even going to re-record that bit. I'm going to leave it. That's a challenge. Anyway, so there's also more dramatic irony because obviously Iago is a devil character and manipulation and to do with evil. It's true, good lieutenant. For mine own part, no offence to the general, nor any man of quality, I hope to be saved. And so do I, lieutenant. Again, this is dramatic irony. Iago doesn't have any interest in his soul being saved at all. Then this actually in some ways links to the idea of the great chain of being as well. Like the idea of, like Cassio didn't want to disrespect a dead king. Well, in Shakespeare's time, they believe in the great chain of being. They have this idea of, they loved hierarchies. They love this idea of you can rank everything. It's like top trumps for for them in that era. It's like you want to put everything into a list. You've got God at the top, and then you've got inanimate objects down at the bottom, and you can put ranks of animals and ranks of humans and put everything into a nice big list of categories. And they thought that was about order over chaos. Is like you've got this big chain of being, this big hierarchy, everything connects. That's how the perfect universe works. So you could say in some ways that Iago is trying to upset that natural order because he wanted the promotion instead of Cassio, and he's a lower social class. So they didn't really culturally like people moving out of their class so much. You know, they did, but it did happen. But it wasn't really something that wider society, particularly aristocracy, would actually ever really want in a widespread way. It was okay to have the odd successful merchant, or in this case playwright like Shakespeare, kind of move up the social ladder and move in different social circles, but they didn't really like that. And anyway, I'm starting to go off on one. Anyway, so you have Iago to Montano. You see this fellow that has gone before. He's a soldier fit to stand by Caesar and give direction. So remember I said about classic era, ancient Rome. So saying, well, this guy's Cassio is such a good soldier. He could be second in command to Julius Caesar. That's how good he is. But do see his vice. So he set up Cassio already as saying, yeah, but he's a good soldier. But look, he's a boozer. You know, he's got a real weakness for alcohol. I fear the trust Othello puts in him on some odd time of his infirmity will shake this island. He says, well, you know, I'm worried that Othello has put a lot of trust in him, but it could all go wrong because he's a boozer, and that poor judgment could mean a very bad situation comes about. But is he often thus? No, he isn't actually. No, he's not often drunk. But anyway, it doesn't matter who you are. Iago obviously has a very flexible relationship with the truth. 'Tis evermore the prologue to his sleep. He'll watch the horologe, a double set, if drink rock not his cradle. That's a clock, basically. So he can't go to sleep without drinking. He's making out he's an alcoholic. So it's a metaphor, really, the prologue to his sleep. So he can't sleep without getting drunk. It were well the general will put in mind of it, says Montano. Perhaps he sees it not, or his good nature prizes the virtue that appears in Cassio and looks not on his evil. So now that is really ironic as well, because you could say that actually Montano is slightly out of tune here, but he's basically right. But he's talking about the wrong person. So he's saying Othello is so good that Othello only sees the good in Cassio and can't see the bad in him. Well, of course, swap Cassio for Iago, and Montano would actually be correct, wouldn't he? Is this not true? So reinforcing that theme of appearance versus reality, actually, there. I didn't think of that before. Here comes everyone's favourite Wally, Rodrigo. How now, Rodrigo? I pray you after the lieutenant go. So he just makes a very brief appearance here, but Rodrigo is part of this plan to manipulate Cassio and exploit him as well. And it's great pity that the noble Moor should hazard such a place as his own second with one of an engraft infirmity. It were an honest action to say so to the Moor. So you see, really, Montano's been manipulated here, and he's now reinforcing this new reality that Iago has constructed. That is a thing that Iago does a lot, isn't it? Is construct false realities. And now Iago has constructed a false reality of Cassio is an alcoholic. It's not true at all, but that's what people believe. And now Montano is reinforcing it to the point where he's saying, well, actually, I think it's in everyone's interest, really, if you tell Othello that Cassio is an alcoholic. They didn't use a word like alcoholic in Shakespeare's time. Not I for this fair island. I do love Cassio well, we would do much to cure him of his evil. So more dramatic irony, of course, it's not even true anyway, and of course Cassio even wouldn't want to help him under any situation. But hark, what noise. So a fight's broken out because Rodrigo has taunted Cassio in some way. You rogue, you rascal. And because Cassio's drunk, he's more prone to violence. A knave, teach me my duty, I'll beat the knave into a twig and bottle. And a twig and bottle is one of those, have you ever seen one of those old-fashioned bottles where it's kind of wrapped up in like a basket? what they call like wicker. It's like wrapped up. It's one of those sort of if you went to a sort of pirate themed restaurant. Of course, we all do that. Who doesn't love a pirate themed restaurant? But you know what I mean. Those kind of bottles where there's like wicker around it, like a basket. And he says, "I'm gonna beat you up. Your skin's gonna look like all crisscrossed, like one of those." With his sword as well, beat you up, probably attack him. Your skin's gonna look like one of those baskets, all crisscrossed with scars and everything. It's quite an interesting little image, actually. But I suppose it does suggest alcohol in itself, the Twiggen bottle. Suggests consumption of alcohol. Dost thou prate, rogue? He hits Rodrigo. Nay, good lieutenant, I pray you, sir, hold your hand. So Montano tries to break it up. Let me go, sir, or I'll knock you over the mazzard. So he's like, I'll hit you on the head, basically. Come, you're drunk. Drunk? So then they fight as well. So Montano tries to break it up. Away, I say, go out and cry a mutiny. So Iago quietly says, you got to go and ring the alarm, get everyone's attention. So Iago pretends to have no knowledge of that alarm being set off. So, nay, good lieutenant, gentlemen, help, ho, lieutenant, sir, Montano, sir, help, masters. Here's a goody watch indeed. This isn't Iago helping. This is, of course, just Iago drawing attention going off. Did I jump 2 pages then? No, I didn't. To the fight deliberately. Now the alarm. I thought I jumped 2 pages then. I didn't. Okay. So he's trying to draw attention to the fight. Who's that which rings the bell? Diablo ho. So that's ironic that, again, who's that who rings the bell? This is all for show. Iago literally just told Rodrigo to go and ring the bell. So again, this is a good one for appearances, reality, for deceit, for those themes. And Diablo is the devil. Ironic because he is a devil figure. The town will, or a diabolic figure, I should say. Because you will be shamed forever, which is, again, meant to sound like a warning, but ironically is actually Iago's intention. So here comes the boss. What is the matter here? Zoons, I bleed still. I am hurt to the death. He dies! So this fight is still going on, actually. Hold for your lives. Notice that reminds me of Act 1, Othello, when he comes in his first appearance, Act 1, Scene 2, and Othello is good at diffusing fights. He's authoritative, and so he's commanding. There's an imperative there. It's actually exclamatory imperative, and he gives his order straight away, calms things down. Hold, Lieutenant, sir, Montano, gentlemen, have you forgotten all sense of place and duty? Hold, the general speaks to you. Hold, for shame. So Iago, again, trying to look like the good soldier. He looks like he's following Othello's orders. He looks like he's got everyone's best interests at heart, and of course he doesn't. Now, an interesting little speech from Othello. Shakespeare's given us here. Why, how now, ho, from whence arises this? You know, what's going on here, basically. Are we turned Turks into ourselves to do that? Now, that links to the theme of betrayal. Where we turn Turks, so we basically become like the enemy. And actually, it's ironic in terms of, for Shakespeare's audience, they would equate Turkish people, they would equate with Muslims and Islam. And of course, we've acknowledged in earlier videos, even though Shakespeare doesn't make that much of a thing of it in the play, but logically, Othello has converted from Islam to Christianity. And I think that is actually contributing again to the theme of betrayal, because you've got Othello has been set to fight the Ottoman Empire, an Islamic empire, against his own original religion. And it works within the theme of betrayal as well. I think it also works in the idea of themes of trust as well, and deceit. I think you can link it to that as well. And to ourselves to that which heaven hath forbid the Ottomites, for Christian shame. It's like we're fighting against ourselves, like we're trying to kill each other, which God intervened to stop the Turks invading. So now we're doing their job for them. So we've seen that Othello is a good speaker, so he's diffusing the fight, but it's also, there's a logic to it as well, isn't there? For Christian shame put by this barbarous brawl. So again, you could say that is reinforcing the idea of Othello has converted to Christianity. He that stirs next to carve his own rage holds his soul light. He dies upon his motion. Silence that dreadful bell. It frights the hour from her propriety. bit of personification there as well. But look how authoritative and in control Othello is. Important for later on. What is the matter, masters? He doesn't mean that they are his masters. He's addressing them from a position of authority and superiority. It's just the way that it's used in this context. It doesn't, in this situation, mean that he thinks he's lower than them. He is higher than them. Honest Iago, oh dear. Oh, that's a facepalm moment, isn't it, again? Oh no. Honest Iago, you're so wrong, Othello. But that's what we're going to think as the audience. Look at that. Oh, you're putting your trust in the wrong guy. This is part of the tragedy. That looks dead with grieving. Speak, who began this? On thy love, I charge thee. I do not know. Okay, so this is honest Iago, yeah? Okay, so again, theme of lying, deceit. So they all seemed perfectly friendly. They were so friendly. They were like bride and groom talking at a wedding. They seemed to get on so well. And then for some reason, as if some planet had unwitted them, it means that, so as if there was something in the stars, like the heavens had changed. He was thinking about astrology here. It's as if there'd been some weird conjunction in with the planets, and something, everyone had changed. Swords out and tilting at one another's breast in opposition. But it's like you say, well, they seem to be getting on well, and then the next minute they were fighting each other. I cannot speak any beginning to this peevish odd, so I don't know how it started at all. If you're screaming at the screen when you're reading this, or when you're watching it and thinking, well, that's a load of, let's say, balderdash for YouTube. That's a load of balderdash, load of rubbish. And again, it's dramatic irony. Of course he knows what happened. He set it up. But that's because he's the villain in a Shakespeare play, so there you go. How comes it, Michael? So notice that informal vocative there that we mentioned earlier on. I pray you pardon me, I cannot speak. Worthy Montana, you won't be civil. That's because he's tied out. You won't be civil. The gravity and stillness of your youth the world hath noted, and your name is great in mouths of wisest censure. What's the matter that you unlace your reputation thus, and spend your rich opinion for the name of a night brawler? Give me answer to it. So he's saying, Othello, you're known to be a good guy. You're known to be a good guy. Why are you behaving like this, Montano? What's going on? It's almost like Othello is like a dad here. Really, like he's like a dad breaking up like children fighting. He even says, he talks about the stillness of your youth, because Othello is slightly older than the other characters, isn't he, as well? So there is definitely like, oh, dad. He comes in and he's breaking up the fight. But he's got that. Yeah, I suppose it is really that. There's almost like a patriarchal authority, isn't it, in Othello? He is the older man breaking up a fight. Worthy Othello, I am hurt to danger. Your officer Iago can inform you, while I spare speech, which something now offends me. Of all that I do know, nor know I aught by me that said or done amiss this night. And as self-charity be sometimes a vice, and to defend ourselves it be a sin when violence assails us. So he's saying, well, I was attacked by Cassio. Montano's actually right, but it's been manipulated. Well, Cassio has been manipulated into it. Now by heaven, my blood begins my safer guides to rule. And essentially, this speech really can be summed up here with the idea of, also he's kind of threatening what he's going to do, but 'tis monstrous, Iago, who began it? So he knows he can't really rely on Montano and Cassio's explanation of it, but who, of course, can he rely? Honest Iago, again, as well. Touch me not so near. I'd rather have this tongue cut from my mouth than it should do offence to Michael Cassio. So I don't want to get him in trouble. I could cut my tongue out. I can't speak ill of my dear friend Michael. He's such a good friend of mine. He's a good man. I don't want to get him in trouble. So he gives this account that is actually pretty flimsy, deliberately, and Cassio high in oath, which till tonight I never might say before. So saying, well, Cassio was swearing, he was drinking and swearing, and I've never heard him swear like that before. Never before, he's behaving very differently. Then, though Cassio did some little wrong to him, and as men in rage strike those that wish them best, yet surely Cassio, I believe, received from him that fled some strange indignity which patience could not pass. Cassio must have been provoked. The only thing I can think of is that Cassio must have been provoked somehow. It's the only way. I know, Iago, thy honesty and love doth mince this matter. We still use the phrase, don't we? Don't mince your words. We still use that. Making it light to Cassio. Othello says, I know, because you're so good, Iago, I know you're trying to play it down that Cassio didn't do anything wrong, because you're such a lovely guy. We know. And again, it's more dramatic irony, but this is a significant line. Cassio, I love thee, but nevermore be officer of mine. This reminds me of like being sacked from The Apprentice. It's like when you say, you've let me down. You got Othello as Alan Sugar. I'm disappointed, frankly. Nevermore be officer of mine. You're fired. And you've got Othello. I can't help but imagine that now. Othello as Alan Sugar. Anyway, but you've got an apprentice type situation there. But anyway, he's been dismissed because of the alcoholism, and we have Desdemona. She's going to change the tone of things a bit here now as well. So Othello's not happy because she's been woken up by all the ruckus. I love the word ruckus. Don't get to use it enough, but we've just used it now. All's well now, sweeting. So there's actually an affectionate vocative, like saying, sweetheart, come away to bed. Serve for your hurts, myself will be your surgeon. So he's going to look after Montano personally. Iago, look with care about the town and silence those whom this vile brawl distracted. Come, Desdemona, 'tis the soldier's life to have their balmy slumbers waked with strife. So there's a heroic couplet there, only saying, this is what it's like in the army. You know, you can't help. Sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night to some disturbance. That's what it's like. Then we're left with Iago and Cassio. What are you hurt, Lieutenant? I past all surgery. Marry, God forbid. So there's actually an interesting thing here in terms of implied meanings, because Iago thinks he means that he's injured and dying, but it's not actually that. Iago has absolutely no time for this, because look what Cassio says is past all surgery. Reputation, reputation, reputation. Oh, I have lost my reputation. So we have here, this is epizeuxis. Oh, I'm going to write that up. There it is, it's magically appeared. Epizeuxis, where you've got that repetition of the same word. I have lost my reputation. So you've actually got, another word coming. Epistrophe as well, because we've got, oh no, I've just pressed the wrong button. There you go. We've got epistrophe as well. So because you've got reputation there as well. I have lost the immortal part of myself. I think we could say that's hyperbole, because you think of your soul, but for Cassio, because he's so gentlemanly refined, his reputation to him is everything. I've lost the immortal part of myself, and what remains is bestial. So he's seeing his reputation as being linked to his own soul. Remember, he said that he hoped to be saved and go to heaven. So for him, I think he thinks he's sinned and he's jeopardised his place in heaven because he's done something wrong, and he's got drunk and he's hurt someone and he's upset his general. He's therefore defied the great chain of being. So he feels he's doomed really because of this. So for him, it's terrible. But Iago thinks what a load of old rubbish this is. Then we have my reputation, Iago, my reputation. So we have parallel phrasing. Actually, no, that's parallel phrasing. That's diacope. Sorry. I will write that on as well. And I'm writing that on live. Look at that. Isn't that incredible? Diacope, because that's like I've done it again. Sorry. It's very technical here at English terms, central control. But we've got, my reputation, Iago, my reputation. I call that a word sandwich. You see? Word sandwich. Yummy. So again, look at how many times is reputation repeated here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we haven't even got into the next bit yet. 6 in those lines there, look. And then we hear it from Iago as well. But look at that obsession there with his status. As I'm an honest man, irony, I thought you'd receive some bodily wound, which is what I said earlier, Iago. Come on, keep up. There is more sense in that than in reputation. Reputation is an idle and most false imposition. And through the magic of advanced CGI graphics, I have added on anadiplosis there, because that's what that is. So there's more sense in that than reputation. Reputation is an idle and most false imposition. So Iago is expressing his own notions of how reputation is something that is so false. It's something that's probably, which is ironic because he deals in falseness, doesn't he himself? Oft got without merit and lost without deserving. That's incredibly ironic because reputation, the idea of people getting credit for things they don't really deserve, e.g., honest Iago. What man, there are ways to recover the general again. You are now but cast in his mood. Notice how similar this speech here from Iago to Cassio is to when when Iago was persuading Roderigo to not give up his pursuit of Desdemona and also to put money in thy purse. This speech is very similar. He's manipulating Cassio to think, there is hope for you. You can recover Othello again. You are now but cast in his mood, a punishment more in policy than in malice. He's saying he's only punished you because he's got to. It's the policy. You're drunk on duty. Of course he's going to punish you, not because he doesn't like you or anything. Even so, as one would beat his offenceless dog to a frightened imperious lion. So he's saying he's just doing it for show. He's only punishing you for that. He's just got to make an example of you. Suit him again and he's yours. I say you could easily get back in his favour. I would rather sue to be despised than to deceive so good a commander with so slight, so drunken, and so indiscreet an officer. So he thinks of himself as now the false reality that Iago has constructed. Even Cassio is now subscribing to that. He now sees himself, I've lost my reputation. I am now a drunkard. I'm known as a bad officer. I can't bring myself to ask Othello to forgive me and to give my job back because I'm now rubbish for the job. I'm not suitable for it. So Iago, he has reordered reality here through words, through language, like the devil. Drunk and speak parrot and squabble, swagger, sweat. Look at that series of interrogatives or interrogatives. The series there of all of that is saying, I can't believe I'm like this. O thou invisible spirit of wine, if thou hast no name to be known by, let us call thee devil. This is a great line. So that's an example of apostrophe, not the hovering tadpole type apostrophe, which is the punctuation mark. And by the way, if anyone's ever planning to open a pub, call it the hovering tadpole. I think that would be a great name. But anyway, this is the different type of apostrophe when you have a character invoke gods, or as in the ancient gods, or God, or the personification or embodiment of something. And in this case, we've got the invisible spirit of wine. So he's saying whatever it is within wine, he's addressing that spirit of wine that makes you drunk. So I don't know what it's called, but whatever it's called, it's the devil, which is ironic because of Iago. Then what was he that followed with your sword? What had he done to you? So, who was that? Who's that guy? Remember, Rodrigo's in disguise as well because he's got a beard on. And in a Shakespeare play, that means no one can tell who he is. Like in a cartoon. It's the same kind of idea. I don't know. I can't remember it really. I think that's probably Iago just trying to work out, did you clock that guy who you're fighting with? Oh, no, he hasn't. That's good because he was drunk. That means, okay, that makes my life slightly easier. Oh, God, that men should put an enemy in their mouths to steal away their brains. So, nice metaphor there as well. That we should with joy, presence revel, and applause transform ourselves into beast. So, he's actually, there's truth in what Cassio's saying. Like, it doesn't take much, You could be drinking and partying and happy 1 minute, but too much alcohol can turn you into a beast. It can make you do terrible things. It can make you act out of character. It can make you be not yourself. And notice, to not be yourself is again not being who you appear to be. So it's again one of the themes of the play. And had I as many mouths as Hydra. Oh, I've missed a bit out, haven't I then? I got too excited. I'll go back. Hail Hydra. Anyway, no, I'll go back here first. If hath pleased the devil drunkenness to give place to the devil wrath. So again, you've got ironic references to the devil as well. So what's happened is, he said, you see, Iago said, I'm going backwards here, aren't I? He says, you seem more recovered now, you seem sober. And he says, well, one devil's been replaced by another. I've got the devil of, so you think of the devil, seven deadly sins here, the idea of, well, I was drunk, but now I'm angry. It's giving. It's replaced. I'm not drunk anymore. That another devil has come in. One unperfectness shows me another to make me frankly despise myself. So this self-loathing Iago is implanted into Cassio. It really echoes Rodrigo's in the first act. Come, you are too severe a moraler. So he thinks he'll get back with Othello. Had I as many mouths as Hydra, of course Hydra is the multi-headed monster of ancient myth. To be now a sensible now to be a sensible man, by and by a fool, and presently a beast. Oh strange! Every inordinate cup is unblessed, and the ingredient is a devil. So I think I've repeated myself so much with the analysis on that. I don't think I really need to say much more with that one. I think you can do that yourselves. Come, come, good wine is a good familiar creature if it won't be well used. Exclaim no more against it. It's like Iago said, I don't want to offend wine. I don't want to offend it. But it's wine's not that bad. And good, Lieutenant, I think you think I love you, which is actually, if you look at it, it's on the surface it sounds like he's being friendly and supportive, but if you take it more literally, I think you think I love you. It's actually ironically truthful, saying I think that you think I love you, but actually in reality he doesn't like him. I have well approved it, sir. I drunk. You or any man living may be drunk at a time, man. He comes up with a plan. Our general's wife is now the general. So he's saying about now Othello's married. She's the boss, really. Get in with her. She is of so free, so kind, so apt, so blessed a disposition. So we have parallel phrasing there. She holds a vice in her goodness not to do more than she is requested. He says, she's so good, she'll help you out. This broken joint between you and her husband entreat her to splinter, and my fortunes against any lay worth naming. This crack of your love shall grow stronger than it was before. So Iago's come up with a solution. Remember, for Rodrigo, it was put money in thy purse because that suited his purposes. But now he's getting Rodrigo to say, you go and talk to Desdemona. She'll help you out. And this suits Iago's purposes now because he wants to make it look like Cassio and Desdemona are having an affair. You advise me well. I think can we just have a minute's silence for Cassio's common sense, please? No, I'm not really going to do a minute's silence. We'll have 10 seconds silence for Cassio's common sense. It's died. I think it freely, and betimes in the morning I will beseech the virtuous Desdemona to undertake for me. I am desperate of my fortunes if they check me here. Iago really reminds me, it's like Jedi mind tricks. He programs people, they end up saying and doing exactly what he wants them to do. He sows little seeds, drops little ideas, and then keeps repeating and keeps reinforcing the idea, and it grows and grows and grows until the point is that the people he's manipulating, this is obviously as Shakespeare's written the character, you have... they end up believing and saying the things that he's been telling them. He is a fantastic villain. It's a fantastic part for people to play, but he's bad to the bone. So good night, honest Iago. Oh dear. Anyway, so Cassio exits, and what's he then that says, I play the villain? So this is a soliloquy. What's he then says, I play the villain, that this advice is... So this is actually probably more for the audience. So who says I'm a villain? This advice is free, I give and honest, probable to think, and indeed the course to win them more again. So we say on the surface, this could be seen... Well, this is how the audience can see it. We can interpret it like this. Iago, really, on the surface, it looks like it is good advice, but it's not. This is all ironic. This is Iago being like a devil character. He's kind of playing with the audience. Shakespeare's got Iago playing with the audience and saying, who says I'm a villain? I'm a villain. This is good advice. This makes it, this will get him back with the more. For 'tis most easy the inclining Desdemona subdue in any honest suit. She's framed as fruitful as the free elements. And then for her to win the more, were to renounce his baptism, all seals and symbols of redeemed sin, his soul so unfettered to her love that she may make, unmake, do what she list, even as her appetite shall play the god with his weak function. And that is actually a sexual reference as well. So he's effectively saying like she's got Othello in the palm of her hand. How am I the villain to counsel Cassio to this parallel course directly to his good. So he's saying, I'm not a villain to make him see Desdemona, to try and get his position back. But then this is countered with this awesome, easily memorable phrase here. So we have interrogative and then divinity of hell, which is in itself a paradox, and it's an exclamatory sentence as well. But divinity of hell, because to be divine, that's to do with heaven, and if it's to do with hell, it's obviously the complete opposite. Iago is, he is of the dark side. I keep making Star Wars references now, but Iago is of the dark side. He is a force of evil. He is aligned with evil. That's why for his philosophy is the divinity of hell. When devils were the blackest sins put on, they do suggest at first with heavenly shows, as I do now. So they say, like the devils, demons will pretend to do really good things. That's what I'm doing now. So remember, in a soliloquy, Shakespeare makes it clear this is the unfiltered character. We get Iago's true thoughts and feelings projected to the audience. It's not really as simple as saying, he's not literally kind of saying it to the audience, like this represents his thoughts that he's expressing to the audience, but then of course in the actor is performing it to the audience. I know it is fairly complicated, but that's what's happening. So, and then for whilst this honest fool plies Desdemona to repair his fortune. Now remember, all the way back in Act 1, Scene 1, Iago showed contempt for the kind of loyal soldier who serves, and he compared them to a donkey, didn't, like a worn-out donkey. He said they're like that, exploited. This reminds me of that speech, actually. So this honest fool plies Desdemona to repair his fortune, and she for him pleads strongly to the Moor. I'll pour this pestilence into his ear. Now this is actually, this weirdly kind of connects to Hamlet as a play as well. So you've got an interesting little metatextual reference there, because if you know Hamlet, that is highly relevant line. But we'll just take it as in the world of this play for now. But if you're interested, you can look that up. I might do a Hamlet one day of these. But anyway, the idea of pouring poison in. I'll pour pestilence into his ear, that she repels him for her body's lust. So what happened is, like, Iago's imagining what's going to happen is Cassio is going to be talking to Desdemona a lot to get Cassio reinstated. Then what's going to happen then is that Desdemona is going to keep going on at Othello about Cassio all the time, because Othello is hearing his own wife talking about another man all the time. This is going to cook up jealousy in him as well. And she's not going to give him sex because they're going to fall out. So she won't give him sex then, because obviously he's got this stereotypical idea about Othello being really lusty as well. So, he won't be able to cope without sex, so he's going to have a meltdown. So then, so will I turn her virtue into pitch. Now, this is pitch as in like really dark substance. And so actually you could say this links to Iago's racism, because he's thinking about turning Desdemona evil, and evil is to do with darkness, and darkness, because Othello's got dark skin, he's equaling him to evil as well. So you can connect it all together if you want to take it like that. And out of her own goodness make the net that shall enmesh them all. So you have this metaphor of the idea of he's building effectively like a net is like a web of deceit, isn't it? He's building up. This is the image that he's going for. How now, Rodrigo? So old Wally head comes back in. How now, Rodrigo? I follow here in the chase, not like a hound that hunts, but one that fills up the cry. My money is almost spent. He sold all his land. He must have really churned through it. What's he been spending it on? He's probably not been spending it on anything, really. Well, I don't know. He's been spending it on trying to get Desdemona back, but most of it's been pocketed by Iago. I've been tonight exceedingly well cudgelled, so it means he's been like hit on the head, beaten up. And I think the issue will be I shall have so much experience with my pains, and so with no money at all and a little more wit, return again to Venice. So remember before he was having doubts about doing this. He says, well, I've run out of money. I've been beaten up for all my trouble. I'm going to go back to Venice. How poor are they that have not patience? What wound did ever heal but by degrees? Thou knowest we work by wit and not by witchcraft. That's a nice bit of paraphrasing. And wit depends on dilatory time. Time's got to pass to do it. He's saying, you're so impatient, Rodrigo. Like, you can't go now. So don't you know, he uses this analogy of saying, wounds heal slowly. They don't heal quickly, do they? He said, our plans, we're using our brains to do our plans. That takes time, dilatory time. Like, time has to pass. Does it not go well? He said, don't you think this is actually going really well, our plans? Cassio has beaten thee, and thou by that small hurt hast cashiered Cassio. Basically, you've got him sacked, or dismissed from his post at least. You've got him, got him removed from his post. So this is good. Though other things grow fair against the sun, yet fruits that blossom first will first by. Right, he's using lots of analogies here. Content thyself a while. So it's going to take time. By the mass, this is ironic because that is swearing on the church ceremony, basically, as in mass, as in the Catholic church ceremony. By the mass, 'tis morning. Pleasure and action make the hours seem short. Retire thee, go where thou art billeted. So go to sleep. Away, I say, thou shalt no more hereafter. Nay, get thee gone. So again, pretending to be his friend, he's manipulated Rodrigo, persuaded him already. Didn't take much effort this time. So off goes Rodrigo. So now he can continue his soliloquy because his own more plans here the audience are let in on as well. Two things to be done. My wife must move for Cassio to her mistress. I'll set her on. So he's now going to use his own wife is going to be part of his plans as well. Myself, the while, to draw them more apart and bring him jump when he made Cassio find soliciting his wife. So I remember I said he's going to try and set it up so that Othello is going to think that there's something going on between Cassio and Desdemona. Aye, that's the way. Dull not device by coldness and delay. So ironically, remember he just now said, by dilatory time, these plans, when we're using our intelligence, time's got to pass. Actually, right at the end here in this heroic couplet, he contradicts himself because he says, that's the way, dull not device by coldness and delay. I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to move right now. So he told one thing to Rodrigo, but in the soliloquy, get the real truth, and it ends on that heroic couplet. Again, I say heroic in that sense. It sounds ironic, but it's the convention. It's called heroic couplet because it's blank verse. It's a rhyming couplet, and it's the end of the scene as well. And he says, I can't delay. I've got to go and put this into action straight away. And I've just finished on my own rhyming couplets. I don't know if it was heroic. I need to count the syllables. But anyway, thank you for listening, and I hope you've enjoyed that. As I say, don't forget, like, comment, subscribe, notification bell, keep up with all the videos, keep listening, keep watching, have a look at my other videos if there are interest to you, and have a good day or night, whatever you're doing. Goodbye.